calling and a call to service, at least for now. And they have really, as I said, captured my heart and spirit. But I just want to give you a little bit of background about my parents and my history. So we were in Korea in 2008 when the MacArthur Foundation is giving away these International Connections Fund. So we received $50,000, $60,000 to go to Korea. And at that time, I had this dream to take the children to the border and do a reunification between North and South. Now, why North and South, you may ask? I was born and raised in Chicago, but I am unique in that my father was born in 1918, same year as Nelson Mandela, in Pyongyang, North Korea. His grandfather and father were Confucius scholars. He was pretty well-to-do. He was a banker, and he had 4 children, and he was very proud that they attended the Kim Il-sung University. They were all engineers. In his mid-30s, he experienced a crisis. He was unable to walk, and someone prayed for him, and he received healing. He ventured to the South. This is before the war, because the war was in the 1950s, and helped set up NGOs. His wife passed away of illness, and at that point he wanted to reconnect with his family, but he was unable to do so, so he came to Chicago to pursue his doctorate of divinity. Needless to say, he was unable to reconnect with them, and he passed away, sadly, in 2001. He was allowed in once in 1983. My mother, who was born in 1937 in South Korea, never met my father there. In fact, she fell in love, ironically, to a conductor and composer, and her father and her brother were against the marriage, so she entered a monastery at age 30 so she could teach children and help orphans. And her friend said, "My God, you know, you're going to die an old miss. I think you need to marry this man who's in America, and he happens to be 18 years your senior, but I think it's all right." She came with $10 in her wallet to Chicago, married him, and had 1 child. When I was born, it was very clear that I was going to use music for some sort of change, for peace. They took me to Israel at age 2. My father went about 4 or 5 times after. And that's another initiative, by the way. Thank you for the Israeli consulate for being here, Nitsa. We are planning to travel to Israel in 2016. And so, 1998, when Mother had cancer, and then also I inherited the Chicago Children's Choir, and I realized when they passed that this was what it was all about. It wasn't about my self-prophecy of being this great concert pianist and espousing my wisdom of Western classical tradition. It was about nurturing the next generation of citizens to become better people, to make compassionate citizens. That said, this job doesn't happen alone. I have an incredible team. They always say, hire people who are smarter than you, who are more talented than you, and I've done just that. So I'd like to acknowledge my staff that are all here. Could you please rise, all the conductors? I'd like for you to... These are the people that are driving to 72 schools, 9 neighborhood programs. We have a Dimension men's ensemble and the Top Voice of Chicago. These are the people that are doing the work. And I feel like they need to be acknowledged, not just on paper, but in person. So if you see them, please do thank them. Also Judy Hansen. She's our associate. I'd like to acknowledge our band. Mr. John Goodman. I've known John since 1997. In fact, here's a story. When I auditioned for Northwestern, he was the guy behind the piano. And it was love at first sight. No offense, Kevin. This was a musical love affair. It's allowed. And John, so there were like 7 graduate students applying for this position, to go to school there, and I was the last person performing, conducting the Bernstein-Chichester Psalms. And I walked in and I said, poor guy, poor chorus. And they had to sit through this for 6 hours. And as soon as we had that downbeat, bam! That's it, John. So thank you for sticking with me for so long. This is our last set. We have Brave by Sarah Bareilles. If you know it, sing along. Let's Dance and Can't Hold Us. Ladies and gentlemen, Brave.